Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. The journey continues today on December 18th, 2021 at approximately 8:09 a.m. PST. Well, we now know my eyes don't work as well as I'd like. Gonna have to do something about that, it would seem. However, I got thinking, we're getting closer to Christmas, and here's the thing about it. Okay, some people celebrate Christmas because of the birth of Christ. Some people celebrate Christmas because of Santa Claus. Well, here's a question for you. Is there really functionally any problem with what the reason is? The one thing that I can see, the one thing I've seen over the years, and we're talking a lot of years, this lifetime, we're only talking 58 right now. But as I've mentioned before, I remember a lot of my past lives. So rest assured, Christmas has the whole idea of being nice to each other. How it came about is open to conjecture. I've got my own belief structure around it, and that's based on memory. Never mind the education of the people of this world. Okay, but realistically, does it really matter why people are celebrating Christmas? If you think about it, look around the world. Now, I mentioned this yesterday. This time of year, people seem to at least make a slightly better effort to be nice to each other at this time of year. Okay, and I'm just going to bring your attention really quickly back to December 25th of 1918, I believe it was. Might have been 1917 or 1919, but it was right smack in the middle of World War One. Okay, when the fighting on the front line stopped and the people crossed the front line. The German, the Axis and the Allies crossed the front line on the main line, crossed the line with no word from either side. They crossed, they sat down, they had Christmas together. They exchanged gifts. Now, why they did it, I have no idea. Well, actually, I know why they did it, or at least in my opinion. Because, like it or not, wherever it came from, the whole concept of the spirit of Christmas, whether you want to chalk it up to Santa Claus or chalk it up to Christianity or chalk it up to paganism, it doesn't matter. The fact is that feeling of goodwill seems to permeate the area around the world a little more at this time of year. Okay, and what you have to ask yourself is, does it really matter if somebody's being nice to you? Does it make any functional difference to you why they're being nice? Or if you're choosing to be nice to somebody else, do you really have to give a reason why you're doing so? People have been taught over the centuries that every time somebody does something nice, they have an ulterior motive. Okay, people have been taught over the centuries, so I'm not blaming this generation. Okay, I'll blame this generation for a lot of things, but that ain't one of them. Okay, but they have been taught over the centuries that, that you have to have an ulterior motive. Everybody wants something. And I will tell you this. Am I doing this for a reason? Certainly. I gave my word to a very ancient individual. Not ancient, well, ancient too, but I said aged. I didn't say I could pronounce the words well. But I returned to this world, to this lifetime, for one primary purpose: to pass on a simple message. And that is that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I gave my word to this individual. When I was talking to him, he flat out told me, he and his partner turned around and told me, okay, and do understand, I'm not talking a boyfriend-girlfriend type partnership. But the two of them sat there and told me that there was this big job that I had agreed to do. Okay, and I gave my word that if they met one condition, that I would do said job. So I am doing said job. Okay, I came back here to pass on a message. Working together, we can make this world a better place for most people. Now, there are certain to be various variants, differences in people. Some people will not be happy with the idea of peace. They will not be happy with the idea of cooperation. Okay, the whole concept of global peace is frightening to a lot of people because it goes against everything they've been told. Now, I happen to come from a different time. Okay, I remember a time some 40,000 years ago in today's reckoning. Okay, where we had peace on earth. There was no war, there was no jealousy, there was no greed. We had abundance, we had cooperation. Now, you don't have to believe this is possible. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'd be really happy if you did believe it, but I'm not banking on it. However, the reality is we are dealing with the Christmas period at this point. Now, this is the only time that I know of that is recognized by all religions. They may not all celebrate it, but they recognize it's here. Okay, you may not believe in Santa Claus, and I will get to him in a little bit. Okay, you may not believe that Yeshua was the Son of God. Okay, which is really fascinating when you think about it, because the people that believe that Yeshua was the Son of God believe God created all men, all humans. Well, if that is the case, then does that not make every one of you under that belief structure? Does that not make every one of you a son or daughter of God? Okay, now we'll start with that issue. Okay, now I'm not here to tell you which way to believe. To me, it doesn't matter if you believe wholeheartedly that that we are simply evolved from apes. But that's where things get a little screwy. And I took advantage of that in a sense. Okay, because I took the concept of creationism and evolution and combined them under one roof. This funny little book that I've been talking about, the backbone of it, the backbone of this came from a very simple philosophy. Okay, and that philosophy was this. I combined creationism, it is science fiction, science fantasy, is the best way to describe it. But I combined the concept of creationism and evolution under one roof, along with magic and technology, off-worlders, as in aliens, ancient races, as in dwarves and elves. Okay. And of course, I dumped it under one roof where we have multiple different races all working towards the same thing. Now, there's no saying that goes your enemy's enemy is not necessarily your friend. But here's the funny part about that. It doesn't matter whether you like the person or you don't. In reality, when you take a look at it, no matter what you think of people, and ask yourself this, even the people you don't like. Okay, if you're hungry, do you all eat? If you're tired, do you all sleep? Or at least try to sleep. If you're happy, do you all laugh? If you're not tired, do you get up and move? If you're bored, do you get up and move? If you're a child, do you play with other children? These are things that happen with everybody. Okay. Even the people that are miserable to the core. And there are a few of them. Quite frankly, I've seen a couple that you just look at them going. I actually heard it put one day really neatly. This little youngster, and she couldn't have been more than 5 years old. She looked at this guy in a scooter. I mean, you gotta understand, the little munchkin at 5 years old, they will speak what they think. And all this little munchkin did was looked at this guy in the scooter and goes, "Hi." Well, the guy barked at her and told her to get that away from his scooter. Right. Well, she just about burst into tears until the guy behind me, who was on a cane, he leans over and looks around me, and he looks at the little kid and he goes, "I wonder if it takes a lot of effort to be that grumpy." Right. Because it's a choice you make. You may have had the most miserable life in the world. Okay. And rest assured, some of the people that I've talked to over my life have had absolutely horrendous lifetimes. Okay. And the reason for that is because of choices they've made or situations they've ended up in. Rest assured, if your life has gone sour, it's not necessarily just your fault. And there are very few people out there that actually place a curse. Very, very few. That is old magic. Does it work? Certainly. But the cost is rather high. Now, whether you believe Christ is the Son of God or not does not matter. Globally, Christmas is a time of year when people seem to try to be a little nicer to each other. Okay. Now, yes, the greedy folk will up prices. They will charge exorbitant amounts. The generous folk will drop prices or will give stuff away for free. Now, here's the reality behind it. What your motivation is doesn't really matter. Because if you look at it, according to Christian belief, Santa Claus doesn't exist. And in a lot of people's cases, they look at Santa Claus and he's not real. However, the idea of gift giving dates right back to that point. You think about it, the three wise men brought frankincense, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Okay. And lots of people sing that song. So those were gifts to a baby that could never you put them to use. Okay, the parents obviously ended up with it. But the idea of gift giving was there. Now, the fact is, when you take a look at it, okay, whether he was the son of God, a prophet, or just some gentleman that come along and said, "Hey guys, get along. You know, here's some guidelines. Be true to yourself. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in." This is the same three laws, and I cannot prove any of this. Let's face it, I don't know about you. But as far as this physical body goes, I wasn't alive back then, and I doubt you were. Although, if one of you were that old, I'd love to meet you. But we take a look at that, okay, and whether or not, exactly who this individual was, that's up to you to decide. But the reality of it is, what he essentially did was he went around telling people, look, the rich people and the poor people are just as important as each other. Okay. He walked around and told people this is what has to happen. Now, this is the way to make things better. Now, what did it get him? Hung up on a cross. Okay. Which is, quite frankly, it was a lousy way to deal with somebody suggesting you be nice to each other. Of course, this lifetime it was kind of strange. I started telling people it's time to be nice to each other, to work together to make this a better world. And I immediately got assailed with, "Oh, you're trying to start a cult. It's people like you that are causing the problem in this world." Which sort of says, from the people telling me that, they desired to be miserable. They did not want to look at the possibility of what being nice to each other could do. Okay, it seems every time somebody comes up with an idea that maybe we should get along, okay, maybe we should make this a little nicer place. Centuries ago, people made incredible sculptures. Okay, absolutely finely detailed sculptures out of solid marble. And what do the geniuses here today do? They start tearing them down, thinking that will make the events go away. All it does is destroy artwork that is thousands of years old. Okay, and in all honesty, I have not seen that kind of artwork created in recent years. This lifetime, I haven't seen it that good at all. I've seen some that have been good. Okay, absolutely. But destroying the records of the past don't help. It doesn't change the facts. You can take any religious tome, any spiritual guideline, and you can alter the words in it. Okay, and turn it into something else. You can bury it so that you can't tell what it is, so you don't have record of it in a physical sense. But the reality is, it is time that we start working together. Now, I'm about to do something with my finances, which is going to put me down at the bottom as far as what my goals were, but leave me in the right ballpark, on the right path. Now, I do really strongly recommend you do the same thing and I don't mean put yourself down to the bare minimum. I mean, take the time over the next week because our year's just about over. Okay, it's up to you. 2020 and 2021 have not been the best years for us. However, it's up to you as individuals to decide whether 2022 is going to be a good year for you or a bad year. And I will tell you, if we work together, we can make it a good year. But that is up to you whether you do that. Now, since I've been accused of starting a cult, I figure what the heck, let's run with it and start one. So I will ask you to join me on this journey and start working towards making this world a better world. Okay, a more enjoyable one for most people. Sorry for those of you that want to be miserable. Okay, you're invited. If you desire to join us, that's absolutely fantastic. I will get back to that in a minute. Or maybe a day or two, I don't know. I don't plan these things out very well. Anyway, I mentioned this issue of Santa Claus. Now, Santa Claus or St. Nicholas, okay, from my understanding, was about 300 or 400 years ago, was a genuine live individual. Again, all he did was say, let's be nice to each other. Everybody likes giving a gift. I know for an absolute certainty, if somebody gives you a gift, even though you may throw in the back of your mind, or for that matter, in the front of your mind, what's the ulterior motive? You still enjoy getting the gift. If somebody gives you money, just gifts it to you, just walks up and goes, here you go. Okay, I hope that doesn't matter. Now, hopefully I did that right. I'm going to have to go back and check, but I'm just going to make a note of that. Hopefully I paused that and all I end up with is a bit of a hiccup. But it looks like it's recording. Anyway, Santa Claus was, from my understanding, a very real person that all he did was say, everybody deserves a gift. Okay. Or more to the point, good people deserve a gift. Which is where the concept of here's a gift or here's a chunk of coal. Now, the ironic part of it, when you think about it, and most people don't seem to, is if you look at the idea of coal, okay, you've been miserable, here's a gift. It may not be a toy, it's a gift of coal. But at the time, a gift of coal was the gift of warmth. Okay, that was the gift of a home. Because coal is what you burn to make sure that your house stayed warm. So even if he didn't give people a toy, he gave them something beneficial. Okay, he didn't check to see who they had for friends. He didn't check to see what their income was. All he did was look at them and go, "You're all children, so therefore here you go." Now, if that's your motivation, that's fantastic. If your motivation, if all you can afford to do, if all you feel you are capable of doing is smiling at somebody and saying, don't worry about whether you're saying Merry Christmas, season's greetings, Happy Hanukkah, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's not an issue of the actual words. I know there are words, I believe, and I'm probably wrong on the pronunciation. For that, I will apologize ahead of time. But there's an old song that goes Melikaliki Maka, which is an Hawaiian way of saying Merry Christmas. Okay. Now, sad to say, if my pronunciation is off, my pronunciation probably is, but I'll apologize ahead of time. Let's face it, the reality is, I'm not a linguistics major. And heck, I stumble over my own words, never mind somebody else's. But how you say Merry Christmas, how you say Happy Holidays or Season's Greetings doesn't matter. What does matter is whether you're being nice to each other. Now, there are extreme cases where saying Merry Christmas is probably not going to be received well. And the reason I say that is there are groups of people I've seen over the years that their idea of saying greetings, like there is an old issue way back where you'd actually thump on somebody just to say, yo, I think a lot of you. And the reason for that was you were showing that you when with those groups, starting a fight with somebody was a way of showing that you saw their strength as a beneficial thing, and they were just trying to say that's a good thing. It's a little twisted, but rest assured, there are weird things out there. As the saying goes, truth is stranger than fiction. Now, the reality is that when you take a look at the way the world works, okay, when you take a look at that, things are absolutely turning around in a very different fashion. But it is time that we take a look at this. Way back during the Black Death, okay, it took 5 years for things to stabilize. Now, we're only going into year 3 if I understand my math right, which I probably don't, but anyway I look at it, it's been a long haul. Okay. And it's not over yet. However, you can make it over regarding the issue of doing your best to be nice to other people. Now, like I said, I ran the numbers again after I got off the video yesterday. After I got done recording, I ran my numbers again, and I am looking at a deadline at a dead number, at a flat line, a break point of $2,500 a month that I require to comfortably run my house and accommodate putting money aside for my retirement. Now, at 58 years old, even if you're 30, now is the time to start thinking about what you're going to do when you get down the road. Okay, hopefully the world will be a better place as far as finances go, but given the amount of greed and the amount of debauchery going on in this world right now, I'm not holding my breath for it. Okay, it's simply an issue of, we've got to do something to work together. Now, that said, understand the most powerful gift you can give other people is a feeling of goodwill, a feeling of hope. This does not require money, this requires a kind word, which is not much energy. Okay. It really does not take a lot of work to say hello to somebody and smile at them. Okay. And, the only ulterior motive I personally have with that is making somebody feel better. If I want to be selfish about it, let's put it this way. I'm empathic. If everybody around me is miserable, I'm feeling it. In my case, if Mother Earth is feeling miserable. Now, I call her Itza because that's what she told me to call her. And again, you don't have to believe that, but that's the way I work at it. You call her Earth, Mother Earth, Gaia. There's any number of names. Again, what the name is not the issue. It's the identification of it. Okay. You yourself likely have many names. Okay. If you think about it, if you've got kids and if you've got grandkids, you may be some form of grandpa, father, brother, sister, grandma, aunt, cousin. You may be called by your first name, your middle name, a nickname, just your last name. Okay, but the names all refer to you. This is the same principle when you take a look at what you call the season that we're in, and what you call, since we're at that season, and what you call your spiritual guide. They are simply names. Okay. And you use names to identify things. For instance, and here's the funny part about language. If I'm holding on to this, okay, now every Terran knows that this is some sort of a cup. It's a vessel of some kind. And usually it means it's got something in it. In my case, it's got coffee. Okay. But and this is where Gene Roddenberry made it very clear when he said the biggest problem we would have with communicating with other races is there's no functional foundation. Because if I hold a cup out to any human, they will take it as that is an offer of something to drink. If I hold this up to somebody that is not raised on Earth, holding this out and going, here's a cup. Am I referring to the item itself? Am I referring to the color, the content? Is this an act of war? Okay. Now, this is why names, yes, they are very important, and I will tell you the most powerful word in any spoken language when dealing with somebody and striving to get a beneficial reaction is their name. Okay. Now, this does not, don't take this to the gaming side and go their true name. The name is simply what people call them. Years ago, I worked for a company, and I'd worked there for three years at the time. And a gentleman had always been calling me Cliff, and I'd always talk to him because he was always congenial about it. And we finally got name tags. He looks at my name tag and he goes, "You're Keith?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "Your name is Keith." I said, "My name has always been Keith." Right. And he goes, "Okay, Cliff." And he, to the day I quit from that job, he always referred to me as Cliff. I still treated him the same way. He still treated me the same way. But that was the name that he learned to call me by. How he came up with it, I don't know. And it matters little. He was nice. All I am suggesting, which seems to be a pretty big request, is join me on this journey to start making the people around you, to start working with the people around you to make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay, this is the time to start working together. Well, in all fairness, the time was centuries ago. But let's pick it up here, because we can't do anything about the fact it should have been done a long time ago. Let's work together to make this a better world. Now, I would love to hear your comments in the comment section below. If you've got a question for me in any field, there's a list of ways of getting a hold of me. Reach out to me if you don't want the rest of the world to know that you've asked this particular question. Reach out to me. I will do my best to get back to you. Okay. That said, I will talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.